Imagine you are walking through a dense tropical jungle. The year is not 2 million BC. It is barely a few hundred years ago. You are on the island of Flores in Indonesia. The villagers here warn you not to go too deep into the forest. They don't talk about tigers, they don't talk about bears, they talk about the grandmother who eats anything. They tell stories of small, hairy creatures, creatures that walk on two legs just like you. They have faces that look human, but not quite. Their eyes are too wide, their jaws are too heavy, and they have no chin. They watch you from the trees. They whisper in a language that sounds like birds chirping. And if you leave your children unattended, they take them. For centuries, the Western world thought these stories were just folklore, myths designed to scare children into behaving, just another ghost story. But then, in 2003, we found the bones, and we realized something terrifying. The monsters in the stories, they were real, and they were living alongside us. Welcome to Primeval Life. Today, we are hunting the Ebu Gogo, the goblin humans that science calls Homo floresiensis. To understand why this discovery broke the scientific world, we have to go back to a limestone cave called Liang Bua. Archaeologists were digging there, expecting to find the usual stuff, maybe some ancient human tools, maybe some animal bones. What they found instead was a nightmare for the history books. They uncovered a skeleton. It was small, shockingly small, standing only about 3 feet 6 inches tall, roughly the size of a modern 3-year-old child. At first, the researchers thought, okay, this must be a child, or maybe a modern human with a growth disorder. But then they looked at the teeth. The teeth were worn down. Wisdom teeth had fully erupted. The bones were fully fused. This wasn't a child. This was a fully grown adult female. She was 30 years old when she died. But the real horror was the skull. It was tiny. The brain capacity was roughly 400 cubic centimeters, about the size of a grapefruit. That's similar to a chimpanzee. And yet, surrounded by these tiny primitive bones were stone tools, advanced tools. This creature wasn't a monkey. It wasn't a confused human. It was an entirely different species of human, a species that evolution seemed to have forgotten. The eerie, slow tone. We named them Homo floresiensis, but the media gave them a cuter name, the Hobbits. Do not let that name fool you. These were not the happy, foot-haired villagers from a fantasy movie. If you met one in the dark, you wouldn't feel magic. You would feel the uncanny valley effect, that deep primal instinct that tells you this looks human, but it is wrong. Let's look at their anatomy, because this is where the goblin comparison gets real. The descriptive, slightly unsettled tone. They had long arms that hung down past their knees. Their shoulders were shrugged forward. Their feet were massive compared to their legs, flat and long, creating a strange high-stepping walk. But it's the face that would haunt you. They had heavy brow ridges, casting shadows over their eyes, a sloping forehead, and a jaw that was incredibly powerful. But the most disturbing part? They lacked a chin. The chin is a defining feature of Homo sapiens, us. When you see a human-like face without a chin, your brain registers it as a threat. It looks predatory. And they were predators. Despite being only 3 feet tall, these goblins were apex survivors. The island of Flores was a lost world, a place where evolution went crazy. Because of the isolation, animals changed size. Elephants shrunk down to the size of cows, a species called stegodon, and the rats grew to the size of dogs. The Homo floresiensis hunted these mini elephants. We found stegodon bones in the cave with butcher marks. Imagine that! a pack of 3-foot-tall, hairy humanoids coordinating an attack, bringing down an elephant and dragging the meat back to the darkness of the cave to feast. But they weren't the only killers on the island. They shared their home with giant marabou storks, birds that stood 6 feet tall and could easily swallow a floresiensis baby whole. They lived alongside the Komodo dragon, a venomous lizard that eats anything it catches. These goblins lived in a world of monsters, and they survived. But here is the twist. Here is why Homo floresiensis is different from any other extinct human. Usually, when we talk about other human species like Homo erectus, we are talking about things that died out hundreds of thousands of years ago, ancient history. Dating of the bones and the sediment in the Liangbua cave suggests Homo floresiensis was alive as recently as 50,000 years ago. But the local legends suggest they lasted much, much longer. The Nage people of Flores tell stories of the Ebu Gogo. In their language, Ebu means grandmother, and Gogo means he who eats anything. The legends are incredibly specific. They don't describe a spirit, they describe a biological animal. The Nage people of Flores say the Ebu Gogo were short, hairy, and walked on 2 legs. They say they had wide, flat noses and big mouths. They say they were fast runners. Does that sound familiar? It is an exact anatomical description of the skeleton we found in 2003. But the legends are hundreds of years old. How could the villagers know exactly what the Homo floresiensis looked like, down to the flat nose and long arms, unless they had seen them? The stories get darker. The villagers say the Ebu Gogo were pests. They would come out of the jungle to raid crops, but sometimes they wanted meat. There is a famous legend in the Boaway region. The story goes that the villagers tried to befriend the Ebu Gogo. They offered them food. They even invited them to a feast. But the Ebu Gogo didn't understand the rules of society. They began to steal not just corn, but babies. According to the oral history, the humans had enough. They tricked the Ebu Gogo into accepting a gift of palm fiber, a material that burns very easily. The Ebu Gogo took the fiber back to their cave. The villagers followed them, and when the creatures were asleep inside, the villagers threw a torch in. The legend says they burned the Ebu Gogo alive in their own home. They committed a genocide against a cousin species. The story says almost all of them died, but almost isn't all. The legend claims that one pair, a male and a female, ran out of the burning cave and escaped deep into the mountains, into the parts of the jungle where humans do not go. This brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. Are they still there? Flores is a rugged, mountainous island. There are vast stretches of rainforest that are virtually unexplored. When the discovery was announced in 2003, distinct reports started coming in, not from hundreds of years ago, from now. Local farmers still report seeing small, hairy figures darting through the trees at twilight. They find strange footprints that look human but are too broad and flat. They hear calls that don't belong to any known monkey. In 2017, a group of frantic motorcyclists in Indonesia captured footage of a small, shirtless figure running out of the tall grass, carrying a wooden spear. The figure ran with incredible speed, much faster than a child, and vanished into the tall grass. Was it a hoax? Probably, but it reignited the fear. The scientific timeline for Homo floresiensis keeps moving. At first, we thought they died out 12,000 years ago. Now, some dating suggests 50,000 years ago. But even 50,000 years ago means they overlapped with modern humans. Homo sapiens, our ancestors, arrived in that region around the same time. We met them. We looked into their eyes. We saw a creature that looked like us, but wasn't us. Did we hunt them to extinction? Or did we push them into the shadows, where they became the Ebu Gogo, the monsters of our nightmares? There is a reason we fear the dark. There is a reason we fear things that look almost human. The uncanny valley isn't a glitch in your brain. It's a defense mechanism. It's an alarm bell left over from a time when we weren't the only humans on the planet. A time when walking into the forest meant facing a tribe of hungry, chinless faces staring back at you. We think we are alone now. We think we conquered the world. But in the deep jungles of Flores, the locals still leave food out just in case the grandmother who eats anything is still hungry. What do you think? Did the Ebu Gogo survive into modern times, or are these just stories? If you want to see more about the terrifying creatures that hunted our ancestors, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're digging up the past, one monster at a time. I'll see you in the next one.